Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 194 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is David Howe.
My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Knisley.
Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a very special guest for tonight's episode. The one and only Paul Cyphers has joined the podcast.
Hello.
How's it going, Paul?
Good. Your last name is Stoner?
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah. A good bit of luck. He's never touched drugs in his life.
Yeah, I'll open it up for questions.
How often do people make that joke?
All the time. Yeah, actually, respect Paul, because usually I want to be the first one, but you beat me, so points for you.
Wait, Paul, you you work on word puzzles? I don't know. Anyway,
if there was a hack premise to be had, I'll say it first.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, Paul, we got you on the show today because we're going to be talking all about GoldenEye. GoldenEye 007, after 20-something years, has finally re-released for the first time ever on digital storefronts. In a way, it's not really for sale, but you can get it on modern platforms, on Xbox and the Switch. We're going to be talking all about GoldenEye, its cultural significance in history, how the new ports play, what's the best way to play GoldenEye in the modern age, our memories of the game. We're going to be going over all that stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, there's a new Splatfest with some new selections to make. There's a Mario pizza in Germany, allegedly. And the Xbox Developer Direct happened last week as well. We'll go over some of the highs and lows of that presentation. But before we get into the news, how are we doing, gang? How was our past week?
Very chill here in Austin. I did a little bit of writing, relaxed a whole lot after a stressful past couple of weeks. So it was very, very nice for me on my end. We had a little meetup, David, at the Red Lobster.
That's right. We went to Red Lobster and had a little Switch Headz meetup with a few people. That was a good time. I really enjoyed that. Got some biscuits.
Dude, as soon as I entered in there, the smell and like the interior design was like, oh my God, it transported me back to Ohio immediately.
Wow.
It was wild. It was like this nostalgic, like a weird nostalgia trip that I don't necessarily want when I stepped in, because I haven't been in a Red Lobster in, I don't know, a decade or more.
Yeah. So it's not fine dining to you, Red Lobster?
No. Is it to you?
Yeah, totally. I love Red Lobster.
Yeah.
Apologies to all who showed up. What was it? Summer and Kyle were there. Jay was there, and Matt and Casey. And I only revealed after we were there that I picked it because I have a Red Lobster gift card that I got. But still got some money on that card. So if anyone wants to go,
to go back for some fine dining.
Yeah.
Hey, you get a like Caesar salad and a water there, and then just like a shit ton of free biscuits. That's a pretty cheap.
It's a Red Lobster podcast.
You can
now.
spread that gift card out over like months.
Yeah, I can get like 2 or 3 more visits out of that son of a bitch.
I wonder if our listeners right now are like, Nintendo or Red Lobster?
Yeah, no, lobster. How are you, Patrick?
I'm all right. There's been some people being sick around my house, and then this weather thing, so things are going a little slow. It's crazy weather here, and things are gonna shut down.
It's very cold
somewhere else
in Austin.
So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm pretty cold. My heater works about half the time, so it like randomly will turn on. The rest of the time I'm bundling. But personally, I'm still reeling from the Last of Us episode 3 last night. Did any of you guys see that?
Ooh, not yet.
Oh man,
no, I haven't finished episode 2 yet, but I'm excited to watch them together.
Yeah, I won't spoil anything since you guys haven't seen it. But man, if that wasn't one of my favorite episodes of TV in a really long time, that's a good ass episode of television. I was crying like a baby. But how about you, Paul? How are you doing? How was your week?
It was all right. I got my car towed for the first time, which was a fun experience.
No.
Did you get it back?
I did get it back. I went that night. You know, it's funny. I called the tow place, and then I was like, "Hey, I accepted that. I'm sure everyone calls there demanding that they did it unjustly, so I knew they weren't going to do anything. I was like, they got me. I got to pay them." But when I called, he was like, "Yeah, you have to be here within 1 hour. I'll give it to you or whatever." And I just was like, "What
for free?"
No, like just in general. I don't know. Like
otherwise, he's gonna steal it.
I don't know. He was just being really weird, like making weird demands. And I called him and tried to ask for the address, and like he gave me it and was getting mad because I couldn't understand what he was saying. And I was just trying to be like calm, be like, dude, I'm the one that should be mad at you. And I went down there. He was just really mean to me the whole time. He was just mean to me the whole time, and he just took money from me. I asked why there's a storage fee on the bill. And I was like, why is there a storage fee? You took it like a half an hour ago. And he just started like yelling at me. I was like, all right, I guess I just will pay it then. I was just asking a question. So not fun. Yeah,
not a noble profession.
A lot of Punisher stickers on the tow trucks I saw, and a couple Blue Lives Matter stickers down there. So that might have been why they were so mad at everybody. You know what I mean?
They're here in the liberal heart of Texas, just ruining the day, stealing people's cars.
They saw me. My car smells like weed with my long hair, and they're just not like anything I was about. So
that's how they take us down. They're going to infiltrate the tow truck system and then take down the whole lib system.
Oh, I forgot the best sticker I saw, which I should have taken a picture of. There was one that said "Tow Lives Matter." But then I was laughing at it, but I didn't take a picture of it because I felt bad because under it was a guy's name and the time he was born and the time he died. But I assume the tow truck acts like was run over because it said like "Be safe on the roads." It was a huge display on the back of one of the trucks.
What? My goodness gracious. Okay, is this a Red Lobster podcast or is this a deep dive into the towing industry podcast?
Yeah.
Because we're covering a lot of ground on episode 194.
Tow Truck Simulator would be a good game.
You just
yell at customers, and they yell at you.
Yeah, I want it to be multiplayer, and I want to play the guy who's got his car towed and like flick off the tow truck driver.
Storage fee. Anyway, we should move on. Last week we did an episode on Fire Emblem Engage. Got a lot of comments over on the YouTube. Krakow said the core gameplay is addictive and story is a comfy, campy mess. It is. Eating good as a Fire Emblem fan. Dylan said, super lively show this week. We must have had a good one, y'all. And that we all seemed really into what we played.
I agree. I was editing the podcast and just like I was smiling. It was we were having fun last week. It's a good time.
Yeah, lots of comments from our friend Carusetta about various things, Spore, Pokemon, and some other things.
Oh, Spore's the best. Shout out to Spore.
That came up on the episode last week.
Super Spore Headz.
I'm a big Maxis guy, so
hell yeah.
Over on the Discord, we got a lot of people. I'm gonna skip. If I skip you, I'm sorry, but Austin is living for the Batten Kaitos remaster rumor, and Alias Nightwing made a few comments. I just wanted to shout them out and say thanks for the kind words about the podcast on the Discord.
Yeah, and Summer had the first different intro in 193 episodes, 192 episodes.
Right. Let's go.
Let's go. So yeah, if you want to be shouted out as well, send us a note. Leave a comment somewhere, and hey, maybe we'll mention your comment. And we always appreciate it, folks. Share the podcast and like and subscribe on YouTube. And Nintendo news. We're still kind of waiting on a big direct. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'm sure that the news is kind of light, but at some point soon we'll have a lot to talk about. David mentioned a new Splatfest was announced in sort of early mid-February, the 11th through the 13th. We're going to have the What's Your Favorite Chocolate Splatfest in Splatoon 3 with the two real chocolates, dark chocolate, milk chocolate, and the fake chocolate, white chocolate.
Fighting words? Probably not, right? I mean, it's technically not chocolate.
Yeah, it's just fudge.
It's not. And I mean, really, dark chocolate is the only, right? The other one has
real chocolate.
It's all dark chocolate. Anyway.
I feel like, first of all, fuck you. And second of all, no, I'm just kidding. I am a milk chocolate stan. But I feel like this is the first one that's actually caused a little bit of tenseness in our Discord. I feel like, I forget who it was, but somebody was like, is this the first one that I split off from the rest of the group and stick with my morals? Like if milk chocolate wins and they're a dark chocolate stan, like, it's pretty tough. I mean, just so you know, by the way, too, like if you're listening, like we're putting up a poll on the day this comes out in the Splatoon channel in our Discord. So feel free to vote for your favorite chocolate in there. Probably close it around Friday. That seems right. Right?
What is it? It opens a week before. So yeah, Friday would be good. That way people
Friday
can actually get there.
Okay, cool. So cutoff is sometime during the day Friday. But follow us in the Splatoon channel in our Discord if you want to vote in that.
Yeah, and then Fire Emblem came out, and Nintendo will likely do a direct sometime in the next several weeks. Who knows? You can't predict this kind of stuff. But one of the things that's kind of come up is Advance Wars, this game that was delayed and then kind of indefinitely delayed because of the war happening between Russia and Ukraine. There's been some rumblings that online listings for this game have kind of started happening again, pointing to this game finally getting a release. So this could tie into the direct. This could be something that they announced, though they could also just announce this separately, of course. But it suggests that, we're going to be hearing more about that. I saw something about, I'm not a big fan of Zippo, but something about them with some leaks coming out. I don't know. I feel like this is just the time when there's going to be a lot of direct rumors because there's likely to be one, right? Sometime soon.
Yeah. I mean, they usually pop up in February. So I think February is a good guess. I think we're going to get a direct anyway. There's been rumblings other than this as well, that stuff is going down. A lot of leakers say that they have like exact dates, but I think that's all just speculation. But yeah, I think it's either way. I really do hope that Advance Wars actually gets out of this purgatory that it's in and does release. The kind of reclassification of this definitely makes it sound like it's happening, along with a lot of the updated listings on like Amazon, Mexico, and Canada. So yeah, I guess the question is, are they still going to be doing a physical release for this, or will this be like a shadow drop and they just kind of try to sweep it under the rug a little bit, because the war, I mean, Russia is still invading Ukraine, which is why they didn't put out in the first place. But then also GoldenEye just came out, which is like hugely Russia oriented. They're like the bad guys in it. So,
but it doesn't have war in the title.
Just guns, and tons of guns
everywhere.
Yeah, but anyway,
I don't know. I think that
Matthew,
I would be surprised if they don't do a physical release. I'd be really surprised.
Yeah, Nintendo's pretty big on that. We got some new footage from the Super Mario Brothers movie, focused on Donkey Kong and Cat Mario, the Super Bell Mario. It's a short clip. It's I guess you call it a new trailer, but it's really a lot of the same, except for this little segment where we see Mario get the cat suit and Donkey Kong laugh at the cat suit. And so we get to hear Seth Rogen's Donkey Kong and see a more animated Donkey Kong, a more I don't know what you call it. What do we think about this Cat Mario and Donkey Kong scene?
I love Cat Mario. I'm a big fan of Cat Mario ever since the Wii U. So I support anything Cat Mario related.
It's just further proof that they're throwing literally everything at this movie. It's like I feel like this movie is shaping up to just be like a huge like member berries. Like, oh, I remember that thing from that game.
Well, that's what they do with Smash Brothers too. They're just like, let me throw in 70 characters.
Exactly.
And push that product. Get Cat Mario the merch.
Yeah,
that's true. Cat Mario is a very plushable character.
He's so adorable, really. I mean, the gameplay too on Wii U with the cat, it was so much fun. The cat suit's so much fun. That game on Wii U I think is underrated. That Mario installment.
3D, 3D World. That game rules.
Me and my girlfriend still play that game together. Like, it's so much fun.
But yeah, I think it's looking good. I think Cat Mario looks good. Seth Rogen's DK is fun. He does he does his like weird little laugh as DK, which I think is fine. What do you guys think about DK talking?
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
I guess it's just like, again, Smash Brothers is like a big game for me. So all the single player campaign and stuff, like, where I just feel like the characters should act the way they act in that, even though it makes no sense because this is entire like it's not canonical with the single player campaign in Smash Brothers. But yeah, it's just weird. I don't know.
Well, he doesn't talk in the Donkey Kong Country games either, right? He just goes, ooh.
Yo, he
Stuff
talks
like
in the Saturday morning computer animated Donkey Kong Country show,
which is
he sings in that.
definitely canon.
Yeah.
There is no canon to video games, yo.
Yeah.
Like, I think is one thing we need.
Okay,
to
here's my
recognize.
pitch. I think that they should make the next Smash, since it's like, what are you going to do after Smash Ultimate, right? That's like literally the ultimate version of that game. Here's what you do. You fill the game with movie versions of all the characters, right? So it's like Chris Pratt Mario, Seth Rogen Donkey Kong, fucking anime Castlevania, fucking Sonic from the Sonic movie.
Mario Luigi from the 80s version.
Yeah. John Leguizamo as
Yeah.
Luigi Mario.
Yeah.
Dennis Hopper as King Koopa.
Yeah,
I'd
don't
play
know.
that. Fuck it, dude. Let's do it. Take my money, Nintendo.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's tough to see Donkey Kong acting like this because he just seems silly, but that's fine.
Did you guys see the other clip that they dropped where Donkey Kong makes and sells his own bongs?
Is this a
Pretty
bit?
crazy. Yes, of course. Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
I don't know.
Seth Rogen. He said Seth Rogen sells
Oh, that's the
Bongs?
joke.
ashtrays
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
I don't watch
Yeah.
movies, guys.
We'll move on.
Yeah, that's fine. That's probably appropriate.
This news is just ridiculous, but apparently in Germany, Nintendo has teamed up with some, I don't know, I'm guessing it's a frozen food company, to release Mario themed pizzas. And in particular, there is a triple salami explosion that features Mario and Luigi on the box. And something in German that I cannot say that has Waluigi and Wario on the box. And apparently it is like cheese pizza that has sprinkles on it, like candy cupcake sprinkles, like you would see on it.
See, this is why you people listen to this podcast, because we break the most important Nintendo news.
You have a lot of listeners in Germany? Is that a big...
We have a few, not too
We have
many.
any guests
Yeah.
from Germany,
We have
actually.
one or two.
I'm just more
Yeah.
mad that I can't try this. Like, I'm mad you made me aware
Right?
of it and that I'm not able to.
It's
We'll
a little
book a fucking
disappointing.
flight to Berlin,
Yeah.
Paul. Let's get
Yeah.
it going.
It's a little disappointing to know that this is exclusive to Germany. Hopefully, we'll all get a chance to have Wario and Waluigi's sprinkle pizza at some point. But
Yeah.
That's a sentence I never wanted to hear.
It is the Wario and Waluigi 4 Cheese Deluxe.
With sprinkles?
Sweet sprinkles.
Ugh.
That sounds
Germans
like
are
an American
weird,
thing.
dude.
I don't know why they put it in Europe. That sounds like
Yeah.
Southern Americans would be more apt to try.
I don't
Yeah. Well, I got some positive news because you know me, I love corporate structure. So I did some digging, everyone.
on
so-
the German company.
So this is a giant frozen conglomerate. So they have a couple of big like pizza factories in the US, I think like between 6 and 7. And so they're a white label frozen pizza manufacturer. So they make frozen pizzas for different brands like Hy-Vee and like Save-A-Lot and Sam's Club. So you've probably had these pizzas under a different brand. So there's a possibility that these Mario pizzas might make a way to our shores.
Let's hope so.
Mm.
Let's hope so. We all want that. Maybe.
David, I never heard you be like, okay, all right, I don't care about this.
What does the
Let's move
Italian
on.
community? What does the Italian community think about this whole thing? I feel like they could be offended by it.
It's a really good question. Yeah. I don't know if Italians are big fans of the Mario franchise in general.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there might
Feels
be a little bit problematic.
Yeah.
Well, we should move on. Square Enix, also something that us in America can't participate in. Square Enix has put a survey out about Team Asano's games, what kind of games they want fans might want Team Asano to develop, what kind of games they want fans might want to see remade or remastered. And so this is only in Japan, but Team Asano is the group that does the sort of HD 2D games, right? And Square has been doing some of these what like Live Alive and this sort of style. So I guess this is, I don't know, doesn't mean anything, but especially to those of us that can't participate in this poll. But I guess it means that they're curious about, they're going to make more of these and they want to know what people want most, right?
It's also a giveaway too. So if you submit to a survey, you might they're giving away like Octopath limited editions, collector's edition for Live Alive, Bravely Default to Bluetooth speakers.
Bravely Depart.
That's what
I
the
prefer
official
that.
name.
Yeah, I prefer that to Bravely Default. I mean, you do need a Japanese Square Enix account in order to do it and respond to a Japanese poll in Japanese. But maybe you could just set your address as the Bai headquarters. They can ship it to you. but yeah, no, it's cool. I really hope people vote for Chrono Trigger. I'm interested if Chrono Trigger is as big in the cultural zeitgeist in Japan as it is in the US, because I know in the US it's like held in very much reverence and esteem. And I wonder if that's the same in Japan or if they would have because I feel like that would just win out the vote in the US anyway. But they're polling specifically Japanese audiences. So I'm interested to see what the results of this poll are, or if they'll even share it.
And then up next, we just got this news as we were recording this. So forgive any errors here, but apparently IGN has put out an article that they have some sources that say that at E3 this year, there will be no presence from PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo. And I don't know what this means. Doesn't Xbox never have a presence at E3 already? And didn't Sony already pull out? The big one here to me would be Nintendo, because they've at least maintained, a booth and scheduled a direct. Does this mean that they'll schedule a direct but not have a booth? Or does this mean, we don't know. What do y'all think? Has anybody had a chance to dig into this anymore? Or is it just that's the sort of surface level?
I mean, I've kind of looked at the article while talking on this podcast, and I'm not good at multitasking, so I'm not 100% aware of what's going on, but it all seems pretty vague. Like, they didn't really say what their source exactly told them, other than that this is likely what's happening. Now, that said, I mean, Microsoft has had some floor space at least at the place. I think they just have their own theater that's across the street from the convention center, right? So they host a lot of the stuff there, but it's always been during the E3 time anyway. So if that's what they're saying about Microsoft, then that would be par for the course, but would still kind of fit this narrative that they're saying right now at IGN. Sony, no big surprise. Sony has not had a presence at E3 since I think 2018, or maybe it was 2019. I don't remember. Maybe even earlier than that. But they stopped going a while ago. Really, if this is true, I think the main breaking news here would be no Nintendo presence on the floor, which would mean, no, big, they always kind of have their floor space with all their games and then some sort of, setup, some kind of fabrication setup that they've put up for a live event. Yeah, Treehouse recording and stuff like that. So if that's the case, I mean, it's pretty rough for E3, right?
Yeah. And do you think that this is that thing that we were talking about forever about E3, which is that these big companies don't need E3? They can just do something right around the same time as it and host their own.
What are the biggest? Because I haven't paid too much attention last year. So is Bethesda one of the biggest booths there? What is the biggest attraction to an E3 now? I
mean, Bethesda was acquired by Microsoft, right? So
exactly. So
it's like the Xbox and Bethesda showcase is what they call it now.
But otherwise, it would be what, Square?
Yeah,
Square Enix.
Okay.
Ubisoft. Do they
Capcom
count?
usually has big Resident Evil installations and activations.
Okay. Yeah. EA usually does one. Does Activision do one?
Usually the next Call of Duty, they'll have a big 8 system or 16 system setup.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a pretty big blow. I mean, those are those three are the ones that people tuned in for. I mean, that said, again, Sony stopped going a while ago, but it's the Nintendo showcase and the Microsoft showcase were always big parts of it. I mean, Microsoft just did their developer direct, right? Which we're also going to talk about here in a sec, but it's they clearly are prepared and ready to do digital only stuff that isn't inside Xbox, which everybody hated, right? So this wouldn't surprise me, but it would definitely be a huge bummer, especially since we applied for press badges this year.
Fuck it, I'll still go. Let's.
I'll probably still go too. Yeah,
let's hope no one shows, and it's just Devolver Digital. It's just
Devolver Digital, the PC Game Showcase, and you and me, Matt.
Yeah, that's right. That's all. And weird basement peripherals. I can't talk this episode. Bravely default fart.
Yeah.
Bravely depart.
Fuck it. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, I mean we'll see though. I mean, I feel like if it does still happen this year, which I mean, I'm think it probably still will, even if this is true. I don't know that it'd be long for this world. You know, I mean, that's definitely like the biggest players all pulling
What a fall
out.
from grace. A decade ago there was like, wasn't there console announcements at E3 and like
Yeah.
huge, it was like the only thing. I remember watching it in high school on my phone, my iPod Touch when I was supposed to be paying attention.
Yeah, I would just read about it in fucking magazines and shit and be like so jealous that I couldn't go because I wasn't in the industry. Like it is a huge fall from grace. But I mean, it's been tough, like the last in-person E3 was 2019 because of the pandemic. And so it's been rough and I could see that being a problem, but
yeah, since ReedPop is doing a lot of the new E3 stuff, like Nintendo's made some presence at the PAX East, right?
Yeah, they have.
So
sometimes.
It's not, so maybe Nintendo or Microsoft or Sony are frustrated with like maybe a move to be more consumer and less industry. I don't know what the pivot here is. But it's not like there's not like tension between these companies and ReedPop or these companies and E3 that I can see.
yeah, I agree.
Well, you alluded to this, so let's talk about this. The Xbox showcase that just happened, they called it a developer direct. I have to admit that I did not watch this. I read the like summary here of it. What the big thing that came out of it, I guess it felt like, was Hi-Fi Rush, right?
Yeah.
That's what everybody seemed excited about. That's what I keep hearing about, but that doesn't seem to be maybe what the focus of it was. I don't know. Somebody who watched this, Redfall was the focus. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say Redfall was kind of what they were saying was going to be the main theme of it. That, like they said, it was going to be about 4 games: Redfall, Forza Motorsport, Minecraft Legends. And then
was it about Elder Scrolls Online?
Yeah, and Elder Scroll Online, right? And those were all like kind of interesting. A lot of those games are looking pretty good. I mean, Minecraft. Not Minecraft Legends? It's,
that's what it is.
Okay, Minecraft Legends. Yeah, I don't think that's a lot of people are going to play that personally. But then they basically announced and shadow dropped on the day Hi-Fi Rush, and that's Tango Gameworks' new game. And it's great. It's the people who made The Evil Within and Ghostwire Tokyo, but it's like this super colorful rhythm-based like action game. And so yeah, that was definitely, I think, the main takeaway from it. And a lot of that is because, I mean, Hi-Fi Rush is, the most like lively new Microsoft game we've gotten in a really long time now. And it was shadow dropped, and I think a lot of people are just really happy with it. It's got, kind of Dreamcast vibes. And it's kind of a budget title, but it's got a lot of love put into the animation and stuff like that. So it was just a very Nintendo move, I think, to like announce a game and shadow drop it. So it's really, to me, this whole kind of story is like Microsoft has really taken notes from Nintendo here, even down to like the name of their presentation, right? But the whole thing was a really nice, tight 40 minutes with a lot of really good like developer interviews, and it was edited really well. I was just really pleased with the whole presentation.
This so Hi-Fi Rush, just briefly, David, since you played it,
yeah, that's great.
Is it like an A game, a AA game? You mentioned this kind of like a budget title. So
yeah, well, it's $29.99. Like if you're not playing it on Game Pass, and I would say it's maybe AA. I mean, it's definitely like got a cel shaded cartoony art style. The whole thing feels like Saturday morning cartoon. And it's not a super long game. I think you can beat it in about 6 to 8 hours, maybe a little bit longer than that. Yeah, but it's excellent. It's like, it feels to me kind of like, I don't know. It feels almost like a Kirby release or something, maybe not like one of the big $60 Kirby games, but it's like, it's not like a Zelda or a Mario or something like that for Microsoft, but kind of this new, franchise that they're putting out, which I mean, it's a big hit already and everybody's loving it. It's reviewing really, really well. So I think that Tango Gameworks, like they've got something on their hands. And I really hope they keep developing games like this.
Nice. Well, that brings us to our final news item, which is really going to be our main topic. So we'll just mention it briefly and then we'll take our break. But GoldenEye has finally come out for NSO as well as the Xbox. They told us this was happening, back in, I don't know when that was, last year sometime. but didn't give us a date about when it was going to be coming to NSO, but we've got it now. And we're going to dig all into GoldenEye, the history of the game, our personal memories, and this multiple new ways to play it after this short break. This week we're talking about GoldenEye 007, the 1997 first-person shooter game that came out for the Nintendo 64. It has just recently been re-released for the first time on NSO, the Nintendo Switch Online, as well as you can play it on Xbox. How do you play it on Xbox actually right now? Is it just through if you have a subscription, or can you buy it?
If you own Rare Replay digitally, or if you have Game Pass, you can access the game. But it is currently not for sale, like on the Microsoft or Xbox store. Yeah.
No way to buy this game. I'm wondering if that's something we might dig into a little bit. But
it's only available if it's out in the service, Game Pass or Nintendo Switch Online.
I'm jumping the gun here, but to respond to that, Patrick, I definitely feel like the way they've released this game is setting them up to snatch it away in a year or two, or whenever they no longer have the license or the good graces of any of these people.
Which we'll get into, because we should talk about why this is the case. Now, if you're listening to this show and you're a Nintendo nerd, you might know all this, but bear with us if you know this. This game was developed by Rare for the Nintendo 64, and Rare was making games. Were they owned by? I don't know that they were owned by Nintendo right away.
So Nintendo had a 49% stake in the company, not a majority stake. So they were technically second party developers for Nintendo. They were only making stuff for their platform, but basically it wasn't a full ownership, which is why Microsoft was able to buy them.
Yeah, and so Microsoft bought them in the early 2000s. And that's why we have this weird situation where there are these games that Nintendo has rights to, but Xbox has rights to through Rare. And then this one, an added layer, of course, is the James Bond issue, right? That this was a James Bond game, but not only that, it was a specific movie, right? That has the likeness of various actors.
Yeah.
In
so many layers.
I think they nailed Pierce Brosnan.
It looks just like him.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
Sean Bean looks incredible.
But I do think it's interesting to note that I guess this game came out a few years after the movie, right? So GoldenEye was a specific Bond movie, right? When Pierce Brosnan was Bond. And I guess they started making this game originally. Even they were thinking maybe at first for the SNES, and we're going to maybe make it as like a 2D game. But then at some point, I don't know, I forget the guy's name at Rare, wanted to make it 3D for the next console. There's a lot of really interesting history about this game because please somebody interrupt me, but like the developers didn't have a lot of experience making, 3D console. This was like the first big 3D console shooter game, right? Like, Doom existed, Wolfenstein existed, but like putting that into a controller. Also, Rare hadn't made a game like this, right? It's just, and they went to the movies. I don't know, like the whole likenesses and like in the multiplayer, wasn't that kind of a slapdash? They added it on at the end kind of a thing, and that ended up being a big thing. So I think there's just a lot of interesting facts. Recently, the Grant Kirkhope, right, did music for the game. Recently just shared that he made the pause music, which is kind of iconic with the heartbeat and stuff in 20 minutes.
The soundtrack is worked on by a lot of Rare composers, Graham Norgan as well. But yeah, no, it can't, you're totally right that it cannot be overstated, like how much of like a seminal experience this game was when it came out. Like this is really, like the first time that consoles ventured forth into this medium other than ports of like Doom and Wolfenstein, right? And it was pretty mind-blowing for a lot of people at the time, albeit completely outdated by this point.
I might be incorrect, but technically I don't want to sidetrack from GoldenEye.
No, please.
Did Turok, was that released before GoldenEye? Yeah.
I think so.
think
Yeah.
so.
Mhm.
Oh, was it really? I thought
think-
this one came first.
I think by like a few months.
Okay, yeah.
Because I remember being very young and being like, you got to be you're either a Turok household or you're a GoldenEye household. At least that's how it was in my elementary school.
You got Republicans and Democrats, or Turoks or GoldenEye's.
Yeah, you're right. It looks like it was March 1997 that Turok came out.
But Turok didn't have multiplayer, right?
Maybe the second one did. Maybe I'm remembering multiplayer from the second one, or it definitely wasn't as good as GoldenEye. As far as
It had terrible fog. I mean,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Better frame rate than GoldenEye, but yeah.
because there was nothing far away. You could
And I'm
see
not
in
sure
Turok.
if you could do the 4-player experience, but if you could, I'm certain that it was a much worse experience than the GoldenEye experience.
Right. I mean, like GoldenEye was the first game. Like GoldenEye, like people like played the single player of GoldenEye, right? And I think the single player of GoldenEye is still like pretty fun. But it's like, but it was like really the multiplayer is what made that game pop the fuck off, right? It was like tailor made for the N64 with its 4 ports on the front, right? I mean, I know for a while it took a lot of finagling in order for me to get GoldenEye. My parents did not want me to buy They did not want to buy GoldenEye for me because I was pretty young. And I'm by young, I mean, I was like, 10 or something, but my parents were pretty protective for a while, right?
And now you're an international spy.
Yeah, now I'm an international spy.
They
I'm a
were
total
right.
Smut.
They
Yeah,
were right.
But no, I mean, it was crazy, man. Like Paul, what can you share some maybe like experiences
I have
of like playing that game?
Yeah, I have
multiplayer?
2 older brothers, so all right there is just fistfights abound. And I think the multiplayer. I was thinking about this game, and on top of the gameplay and stuff, at the end of rounds, the like alarm would be going up. Even the sound in the game gets like intense. Like when you compare it to Turok, it's just like they didn't even think about that. The end of the round should have a different sound,
Right.
and and the music is just insane when you're playing. It feels intense when you're trying to hunt down the guy and like screen look him while you were like you just hear the music. And the level design, I remember, I think it's called Aztec. That was probably where you could fall through the top. I wish I had played the remake before because I'm remembering. But I think that's so. Even though it might have not been the first, it was definitely the first. Like it reminded me, years later of Halo LAN parties. It was like the precursor to that.
Exactly.
So
Totally
many people
was.
in a room.
It was the 3rd best selling N64 game, and I think that's what it was, right? Like Turok, I don't think the first Turok had multiplayer, but either way, like this game exploded and had the 4-player multiplayer, and so many memories.
Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely insane. I mean, I don't know that I mean, Halo started as like a computer game, right before it was ported over to the Xbox, but it's like, this really felt like it was like a made for console experience. It was made for parties and getting your friends together, and it just did an incredible job. I don't know that Halo would have popped off the same way had GoldenEye not like brought a lot of people in, because shooters were like really just a PC thing, mouse and keyboard, right? And so this was kind of like saying like, hey, if you develop for home consoles, there's a huge market for that. And now it's like the majority of the place where people play first person shooters is on console. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, and just to like echo that a little bit more, Patrick, I'm gonna go back to your point of like being the 3rd best selling game. GoldenEye sold more than Ocarina of Time, Smash Brothers, Star Fox, Banjo-Kazooie, Diddy Kong Racing, Majora's Mask.
Yeah,
it's wild.
And it's a licensed movie game. Like that's crazy.
Yeah,
and that's not why people liked it, right? Like,
no, yeah. Nobody's seen the movie. I mean, like I've seen the movie. I've seen the movie because I played the game, right? But it's like I don't think like that was like the biggest movie of the year. Like whenever GoldenEye the movie came out, it's just like such a strange property for them to base it on. And the story like follows the movie pretty closely, like the campaign, right?
Some of the campaign levels too are classic. The train level, I remember just being an absolute classic level. Even the single player campaign, like Call of Duty's good single player campaigns now have a lot that still like draw from that. And in this game, everyone else copied everything. Time Splitters, I feel like, copied things from this game.
A lot of the same development team.
Made
Time
cool.
Splitters.
Didn't even know that.
Yeah. They had the kind of like the body armor and health side things in Time Splitters as well. Yeah.
I think the single player campaign, I spent a lot of time. So I was 16 when this game came out, and I played a ton of it. And that's right when, had licenses, so my friends would come over, we'd play it at my house. But like back to your point about the single player campaign, I still feel like this game added a lot of stealth. Like, or the single player had a lot of stealth elements, right? Like,
or you
not how I play.
Yeah, you could play, which actually is cool. You could play, or you could run sideways the entire game and
just lay fire out.
Yeah, which is cool because then it's speedrunning. It became that even if this game was a re-release, speedrunning is still a huge thing. Like one of my favorite YouTube videos of all time. I'm sure you guys have seen it. The 40. Have you guys seen the speedrunning? Oh my god.
No, I haven't seen a speedrun of this game.
There's a level where someone does in 45 seconds, and he's trying to beat like the record of 44 seconds or 46 seconds something, and he freaks out and he's like, "I did street." It's got like 12 million views on YouTube.
Okay.
It's a meme. It's a meme GoldenEye speedrun video. So look it up. You guys will find it. Streets 112. That's what it's called. He goes, I did streets in 1 motherfucking 12. This guy's like screaming. And all you watch is him running sideways for a minute and 12 seconds, staring at the ground, because that's how you run fastest.
Yeah.
And it was a huge, intense community of speedrunning, even up until a few years ago. Like, so that's kind of cool with the remaster coming out. I'm not sure if they remade the single player campaign. Did they? I probably should.
Well, that's. We can get to some of that, like the actual re-release in a second, but to answer your question, like it's not really a remaster. This version that's out right now, it's both the Xbox version and the Switch version are running emulation. It's like modified emulation, but it's basically the N64 ROM put into like these wrappers for the new version, right? So there's not really any like updates. It's we were playing multiplayer before we started recording, like the three of us hosts, and it's if when you play it on the Switch, the Switch has online, because all Nintendo Switch online games have online, but it's like got the screens in the corner. It's like just like you're all still playing on one TV, right? Yeah. So you can still screen peek on the Switch.
That's funny.
It's an important part of that game for me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But
before we move past like just memories and stuff like that, I think that like this game was one of those games because I was the one who owned it, and I had like 3 or 4 friends who would come over all the time and we would play it, and I just crushed it because like you know what I mean? I was just strafing around circles around people, like and they're like, fuck this game, but they'd come back next Friday and play it.
This I agree. This is the game that taught me how to shit talk. Where I learned how to shit talk well.
One memory I had of this game too, that when I played it a few years ago, you need to find someone's N64. It's like, oh wow, I was looking at these controls with rose-colored glasses because you didn't know anything else at the time when you were at that old controller. So you're like, this is so good. But then when you tried to play it after you playing like games with the dual analog on the Xbox, you're like, this is the worst control scheme I've ever encountered in my life.
And we'll get to that too, because the Xbox version has by default twin stick controls built in as an option, right, on Xbox, right? But the Switch version is just straight up the old controls, right?
Wow.
So it's like, I feel like a lot of people, I feel like that was something I really wish they would have done on the Switch version as well. But for some reason, and we'll get into some of that, but it's like, for some reason they didn't do that. And I feel like a lot of people that are picking up this game for the first time that never played it before and are like, what's all the fuss about? Are going to pick it up, play with it for like 2 seconds and be like, fuck that. I'm not playing that. Are you kidding me? Like, I can't do anything. And it doesn't help that, like, when you're in a handheld mode or not playing with an N64 controller, like a Switch N64 controller, like I have back there, like, the face buttons don't make any sense. The C buttons are all mapped to the stick. It's a nightmare, right? So yeah, it's definitely, that is the part that's aged the worst out of the game. But at the time we knew no better. Like you said, Paul, it's like, it was just a miracle that we were doing it on a console at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready to dig into that stuff, but I know there's maybe some other history or memories, or maybe we talk about that.
Only going back to single player stuff. Just the idea of having the difficulties, having additional objectives. When adding like puzzle elements, it wasn't like a Doom. It's like run and gun, but there are like things to find, like alarms to explode, and they're like hidden behind doors or in corners. I remember trying to find like one alarm on one particular level later in late game. I took me forever. I had to look it up on GameFAQs.
Yo, I had to look shit up on GameFAQs the other day when I was playing through the campaign again. I was like, where the fuck is the modem? I have to blow, like all this shit. Like, it does like reward exploration, which is kind of cool, right? Which I think that is something that Rare has always been their strong suit. Is especially with games like Banjo-Kazooie and the 3D platformers that they made, they're very exploration focused. And so they definitely brought that into the FPS genre in a really cool way.
I remember that Easter egg with the scientists. If you shot them in the foot, they will take out a pistol and try to shoot you back. So there's a memory that I have from that. I remember we thought it was the funniest thing in the world when I was like 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah. That actually happens in real life too.
Yeah.
You shoot a scientist in the foot.
That's every scientist in the United States is strapped.
Yeah,
my dad would really like to play that game. He'd like to shoot a few climate scientists.
Patrick cannot abide by that joke.
But like one other thing we should talk about too, I feel like is Odd Job.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm gonna ask. Is he still completely unfair in multiplayer?
Yeah, so like this game also had this. You can unlock stages and characters right by beating single player campaign stuff. And I even remember there are some stages I never unlocked as a kid. Or as a teenager, like it was just too hard, or I just I didn't ever bother to look it up and figure it out. But yeah, Odd Job is the one character that's like short, and as a result, the auto aim doesn't work as well on them, right? And it's just like you had to have the house rule had to be no Odd Job. But if you had somebody who wasn't familiar with the game, you could just pick Odd Job. And
we were talking about strafing circles. Odd Job was the one where people would just be my brothers would just be strafing circles around you. Short. It was just unreal. It was like,
yeah, he's like half the size of every other character. He's impossible to hit. Yeah. Did he throw his hat, or is that just in the movies?
I don't
feel like he maybe threw his hat. Maybe that's a Shazam Kazam sort of thing there.
Another thing that made the multiplayer great too was the choosing of weapon classes, like slappers only and like laser. That was like party games. Everyone just like every game was a whole. It's like Smash Brothers. Sometimes me and my friends will do Pokeballs on high, only Pokeballs. That's like the best game mode. So that was a crazy part about it too. You could make your own game modes. I think you could turn off individual weapons and shit. It's so cool.
Yeah, like it's a lot of fun to play with like mines or something like that. If you're good with the game and that sort of thing. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I loved this game when I was a kid. It's definitely the game that taught me how to kill in real life. Because video games cause real life gun violence. And no, I'm just kidding. It was a great game, and I really enjoyed it. I'm glad my parents eventually let me get it, even though like this game also was completely outdone in pretty much every way by Perfect Dark when Perfect Dark came out. Like Perfect Dark was the game after this that the same team that made this made, and it just. All the levels were like much more robust. The graphics were a ton better. The multiplayer was like super fleshed out. It just really felt like they took all the stuff that they made for the first time with this game and really made it so much better with that. And then like you were saying with Time Splitters, like, this formula worked for a while after this game and it really left a long legacy.
Well, maybe we can talk briefly about the failed or I guess I don't know if failed is the right word, but the remake that was being made in the late 2000s that never released. And I know, David, recently even you mentioned you played, there's been some sort of leak of the code from that, right? Or something.
Yeah, that's the version I've been playing mainly recently, actually. But basically, yeah, this is not the first time that this game has been attempted to come out. Like you were saying, during the Xbox 360 era, whenever Rare was owned by Microsoft, is still owned by Microsoft. Basically, an agreement was reached with all the rights holders of the game, somewhere between that realm of Nintendo, Microsoft, MGM, and Activision, because Activision owned the Bond license for a while. Basically, Rare had a team of people go in and actually make a port of this game. And, we were talking about how the version that's out now is just straight emulation. This Xbox Live Arcade port that was going to come out was completely built from the ground up. It had completely updated visuals. It actually had a mode where you can press R1 and it would like toggle between the old school visuals and like the new updated HD textures and all that kind of stuff that they made. And the game is great, and it was basically finished. And the game is, if you can look it up online right now, like the ROM of the beta leaked, and if you have an Xbox 360 emulator, you can actually play this. I've been playing it on my Steam Deck through an Xbox 360 emulator, and it runs great. And even I can add gyro because it's on the Steam Deck, so I really enjoy playing all my FPSs with gyro. But yeah, basically what happened is everything was in the right place for this to go, and then at the last minute, it's believed that Nintendo backed out. And so the reason that the game never was released was Nintendo basically was like, no, we're pulling the plug. We can't come to an agreement on how we want to do this. And I think that could have been for a few reasons. One of them was probably it was going to come to the Wii Virtual Console. That was probably the agreement. Like Xbox gets their version and we get a version on our system, right? But then Xbox just would have had the way superior version, right? They would have had online multiplayer, or at the very least local LAN multiplayer. All the updated visuals, the enhanced control scheme and stuff like that. And Nintendo would have been just stuck with basically the N64 ROM, like all their other virtual console games, right? So I think, and back then, porting a game from the 360 to the Wii, they had very different architectures. So it's not like they could just drop it on the Wii or something like that, right?
No grabbing and slapping back then.
You couldn't grab and slap the same way you can these days. Even between like Xbox 360 and PS3, like PS3 had crazy different architecture, right? Everybody just had to make bespoke versions for every console, basically. These days, everything's built like a PC, right? So it's really easy to port games these days. But yeah, so that's a real shame. I really, 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 really wish that instead of everybody doing this new re-release as just like emulation, they somehow found a way to just release that finished Xbox Live Arcade version and put it out on both the Xbox and the Switch. The Switch would be more than capable of playing it. But again, I feel like this release that just came out, again, is strung up by Nintendo. I think Nintendo was like, it makes too much sense for us to put this on the NSO service. So we're basically going to just do the N64 version. And if we're doing the N64 version, then you have to do the N64 version, right? And so they basically made it to where, that version that was made by Rare all those years ago is basically just kind of forever stuck on the cutting room floor. I don't know. That's a little bit of a conspiracy theory, but I feel like that's a pretty believable one, right?
It's believable, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about it being on NSO then, maybe, because I think the benefit that Nintendo has now is that the only way to play this game online is the Nintendo version, because the Xbox version doesn't have that because it's just emulation, right? Mm-hmm. But because it's just an emulation on the NSO service where they've built in this ability to join somebody else's game on NSO, you can play it online on the Switch, and we just did that. But man, what sucks is that the Xbox version has the better control setup. And over on Nintendo, where you can play online, you have to go into your system and reconfigure like the fact, I mean, this has been a problem on NSO since they released NSO, that there is no within the app button remapping where you can save multiple button profiles in an app. You have to go back out to the system and do it, right?
Yeah.
It drives me nuts. Like I fire up thinking, oh, I'll play some Mario 3 or something, and the buttons are wrong. You know what I mean? Like they're flipped or you from what you want. And you're like, am I really going to spend 10 minutes doing this? No, I just wanted to play this for 10 minutes. You know?
Well, like, I mean, to its credit, I mean, you're not wrong. Like it absolutely should be on a game by game, you can remap controls basis within these apps, right? Emulators have been able to do that for fucking decades. It's still the best way to play old games is through emulators on your PC or an emulation device of some kind, or on your fucking phone, even if you have a Bluetooth controller. Like that still remains the best way to play old games at the end of the day. The convenience factor is there with the Switch because it's handheld and everything like that. But yeah, absolutely. I'll never understand why Nintendo doesn't do more to be like, they need to make their convenience. They need to be the best quality of life and convenient way to play these games. And yet they still drag their feet and then complain when people emulate their games. So it's like, all right, well, what are you going to do? But yeah, I don't mean to bogart this conversation, but it's like, I do think that is a bit of that agreement between Xbox and Nintendo again, where it's like, Nintendo's like, we're going to have the online, but you guys can have the like improved control scheme or whatever, right? It was like,
so weird. Why would you do that?
Probably because they just don't have a better control scheme.
Oh yeah.
They already don't. So like,
I
don't
it's
know.
not built into NSO maybe.
Yeah,
you know,
it's not, and it should be. Yeah.
But that's also kind of bullshit because the NSO version, this game is special because the original GoldenEye, back when it released on the N64, was one of the very first console games to have a widescreen functionality to it. Like you could set the aspect to 16:9 on the N64 in the thing. Now, what all that would do would squash it to where if you were playing on a 16:9 screen, when it's stretched out, it would be the appropriate aspect, right? But in the NSO version, when you put 16:9, it overlaps those like gray borders that are on the side of the N64 app. So they had to make that special. So I don't know why they couldn't have also added in controls. But
yeah, it feels like Nintendo's like, you can only experience this game if you get the N64 controller to play it in the way that we say, rather than give the options to all of the other folks who don't have an N64 controller.
That kind of tracks with Nintendo's business ethics.
That's what I was about to say. Like, I feel like, and it just tracks with Nintendo's quality of life.
Yeah,
bullshit.
They're always a generation behind on the quality. Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know. It's a topic I've wanted to talk about in more detail ever since we started this podcast. Why Nintendo doesn't have options. Like, I was playing something the other day, and I was like, I really want to hear just the sound effects in this Nintendo game, and turn down the music. Can't do that. Wow. And whatever, like a new Nintendo game, right? Like, there's a volume control, but there's no, like all these sort of quality of life things that exist commonly in other video games often don't in first party Nintendo.
It always
games.
feels like sometimes Nintendo acts like a movie director. There's a particular way that they want you to experience this game, and that goes all the way from the sound to the music, to the graphics. To the controller that you use to experience the world.
Nintendo is the Christopher Nolan of
yeah. It's like, I can't turn down. I can hear anybody in this video game, Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
They're all mumbling.
Just, turn the dialogue up. No, can't do it.
That's what I intended.
What were you going to say, Paul?
It's actually similar. Like the Wii had a GameCube that you could just plug GameCube controller into the side of it, and then the Wii U came out, and then you had to buy this other thing for it. And it was like, this is the same console. Like, why not? Why is this doesn't exist? And it's like the same thing. They're like, no, you have to play it using they wanted to really push the controller on the Wii U. It's just like, instead of letting people choose how to play, it's very annoying.
Yeah, it's definitely a major problem Nintendo has. I will say, like, there is a it's annoying, but there's a decently easy workaround that takes a little bit of setup, but once you do the setup, it's pretty easy to get this done. Basically, and I'll just go through it real quick. In GoldenEye, if you go into the like pause menu and the options, you can set your control to, there's one that's basically called 1.2 Klondike, I believe it's called. Is that what it was? No, Solitaire. That's why I said Klondike. What that does is basically just like first-person shooter controls with the sticks, except it's opposite. So like you move with the right stick, and then you look up and down and strafe with the left stick. So what you would do, the like L and R triggers are reversed. You like are shooting with L instead of R. So what you have to do is basically go into set it to that, then go into your system settings, and then basically what you do is you just have it to where it swaps have the left stick behave like the right stick behave as the left stick, swap ZL and ZR, and then pretty much you're good to go. And then once you do that, it feels pretty natural. Now, the nice thing is in the system settings, you can save controller profiles whenever you do this. So I just have one.
How many can you have?
You can have 5, I believe. It's 4 or 5. But basically, I just have one named GoldenEye. So whenever I play GoldenEye on my Switch, like if I'm going to play online with somebody, I'm going into the system settings and just quickly changing to my GoldenEye profile and then moving back. That's what I did before we played online, which is why I was smoking y'all.
Or if you want to play with Solitaire and not do that. You can use the D-pad as moving around and hold your right hand on the left stick like I was doing and play in a tiny little space like this that is very reminiscent of the N64 controller.
In the video version, Patrick is clamping his hands all the way to the left side of the controller. Left hand
looks
on the
really weird
on the D-pad, and then right hand on the left joystick.
Also, another thing you can do if you're playing with Joy-Cons is you can quite literally just put the right Joy-Con in your left hand and the left Joy-Con in your right hand, and it works pretty well. It just
how does that feel? Yeah, I was about to say that can't feel good. I gotta try it.
I hate it.
Does not feel good.
Why would we have to do this?
Yeah. I mean, it's because they set up their NSO and they didn't want to make one exception for a game. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just like Nintendo makes decisions like this all the time because I think they're like really obsessed with like doing like they set up the method for doing something and then they just like
you can change your controls in the system and like, no, I don't want to do it there. I want to do it for this game and always have this game remember that. Yeah, like
I feel like Nintendo of Europe, like the people who Nintendo Europe Research and Development who did the emulation for this game. I just feel like they're hamstrung by the decisions that Nintendo of Japan makes with the hardware. You know what I mean? Like Nintendo of Japan sets the rules on like what the Switch is going to be able to do and like what these things are able to do. And Europe is like, hey, but it would be so much better if we did it like this. And they're like, well, we're not changing the whole fucking hardware. And they're like, God damn it, guys. All right, whatever.
What a missed opportunity of all of us who are just reminisced about our wonderful memories playing GoldenEye. What an incredible opportunity it would be to welcome us back into these memories with a modern control scheme.
Well, David's point earlier is 100% correct that somebody's going to go in and play this game for 5 minutes or less and be like, fuck that.
It's just,
because I have had that experience with multiple games on NSO where I go in and the button scheme feels wrong, especially N64 games.
Yeah.
And you're just like, like Star Fox or something. Like once I finally sat down and got it, it was like I was having a blast, but the barrier of entry there, you know,
the X button is C down, right? And the Y button is C left, but then there's no buttons for the other C buttons. Like the rest you have to do with the stick. Like it makes no fucking sense. It's insane. Oh Lord.
Please,
I don't know.
Please, Daddy Nintendo, hear our prayers. Modern control for N64 games on Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah.
That's my one prayer this year.
I don't know. Is there we can close out this topic soon, but definitely there's so much more we could talk about with GoldenEye.
Maybe can we talk about the Xbox Live Xbox Game Pass version?
Yeah, sure.
That's the one I played. Control has modern controls. I got a little motion sickness while playing this on Xbox because of the frame rate. There's like a little bit of lag in between the frame rate and the movement because when you're playing, you kind of bounce a little, and that kind of bounces the world. And so I can only play this game for just a little bit. I've never experienced this type of sickness but it was like moving too much and it kind of made me feel sick.
Yeah, there's like a sway to it. Like as you're walking, that's really disorienting for sure. Yeah.
Man, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, it's probably a little bit more comfortable to play it like handheld on your Switch, right? Like that probably wouldn't, if you're playing on a 65-inch TV or something like that, it's probably not going to look the best, right? But then, of course, if you're playing multiplayer and handheld, you're looking at a little corner like of your screen. It's like about this big. Although I read this right before we started. There's kind of a hack where, the Switch has a zoom in feature where if you double click the home button, it zooms in on the screen and then you can like move to where you want the zoom to be. So you can just zoom on your whole screen and have it fill your screen that way. Can't screen peek that way. But it is a little bit easier on the eyes.
You got to do that after you do the hack for your controls.
Yep. Yeah. And this is all assuming that you didn't buy a Steam Deck, download an Xbox 360 emulator, download the ROM for the XBLA version, and add it through game mode.
Man, that just reminds me, the screen watching was such a big part of this game for me. In playing it with y'all before this too, like I'm also kind of to Matt's point of feeling a little bit sick, but also I'm like looking at these maps and I'm like, man, how did I memorize these layouts? Because every wall is the same color.
Yeah.
But when I was a teenager, I played this game. Like I could like look at my friend's screen and be like, I know exactly where they are.
Yeah.
And I am there and like, shooting them with a club or whatever.
The brain deteriorates with age.
That's what it is.
Early onset dementia happens. Yeah.
But man, like to also whoever joked about it looking like Pierce Brosnan, like, man, this game did feel pretty amazing at the time. And looking at it now, it is pretty ugly, but,
but Natalia, is that the woman in the game?
Yeah, Natalia.
Yeah, I remember when I was a child having my first thoughts of, I like women. And now I look at it, I'm like, this is like 4 pixels.
Yeah, she's like a smattering of triangles. Is her whole body. Yeah.
And the names
something
of the
about her
levels.
attitude though.
Yeah, she's got a really good. Well, she's always locked up in prison.
Yeah.
The names of the levels is so creative too. Library, temple.
And if we're gonna talk about it too, remember this facility was like the best.
Facility is the shit.
That's the
is that what we were playing on earlier?
We played Construct.
Or
Construct.
You unlock facility later.
Compound.
Yeah.
Opening a bathroom door and shooting someone while they're on the toilet is like the most fun.
It's the best.
Yes.
Agreed.
Or throwing a mine over the stall wall. I remember doing something.
Yeah. And clicking your little watch to make it blow up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do we stand on screen peeking? Is it an ethical thing to do? Is it unethical?
Oh, it's 100%.
Or is it a strategy?
It is part of the game. Like I was very anti the people that were like, well, we set up a thing where you can only see your part of the screen. I'm like, the game shows me their screen.
Yeah.
Right. Or people would be like, you're looking at my screen. I'm like, yeah, it's there. Like you can look at mine.
There's
you're just not as good.
There's no way to you can say, there's no way to prove if they are or aren't. So you kind of just have to allow it.
Right.
I
The biggest thing I used to do is seeing myself on someone else's screen. That's how I would use it. I would just be like, someone's about to shoot me. That was the best way to do it.
That's true.
No, I'm like very adamantly pro screen walking.
Radical view.
Well, there's a whole game called Screen Peekers, right? Like it was like a multiplayer game that was like based around screen peeking. That came out a few years ago, but
I would say it's only unethical if everyone has to agree not to screen peek.
Yeah, not gonna happen if I'm playing.
How do you even enforce that? You like tape their eyes?
It's the honor system. It's called trust, everyone.
Well, you have no honor, Matt. We know that.
Yeah.
You're always going to throw people off the edge in Super Mario 3D World.
Hell yeah, well, fuck you.
Oh man, I would just remember there were people that had like built things where you couldn't see, like cardboard. Things
Yeah. That's beta behavior right there. What I will say though is it was chaotic. We played about 20 minutes or so before we recorded this podcast, and it was chaotic. And the controls were fucked for you guys. I fixed my controls, and I was feeling pretty good about it. But it's like it was fun, man. Like I was immediately taken back. You know what I mean? To like how it used to feel when I played that game. I didn't remember where everything was, like you were saying, Patrick, but it was like I was having fun. And to be honest, like sometimes we'll play games over NSO online with members of the community, and it all depends on if someone has a bad internet connection, the connection's gonna be bad for everybody, right? But with the three of us, that was rock solid. Like I didn't feel any input lag, I didn't feel any jittering or any kind of internet slowdown. Like that was a good, solid session, and I want to play more with you guys. This game, it was really fun.
In the spirit of GoldenEye too, David, you had good controls, but you still fucking lost, baby.
I don't know what you're talking about. I
got 0 kills.
Yeah.
And David wasn't even playing for like 2 minutes.
That's true. I put it down to check Paul's
and I still
audio
didn't kill
sample.
him.
You could stop talking. I won.
Getting the mostly harmless at the end of the round is always the most disappointing. And everyone else can see it. That's the worst part too. Everyone that stares at everyone else's awards. So they just know that you're a fucking idiot.
No, that's a good point, Paul, that this game had those awards, which I don't know that it was the first game, probably wasn't, but like probably one of the first games that a lot of people played that had awards that it gave you at the end, and good and bad ones.
And then if someone won, but they got cowardly, you'd be able to still shit on them.
Yeah.
So it was great, which is a very party game-esque. Yeah, like Mario Party do the same thing. There's always something, even if someone's losing, that they can point to like say it's bullshit.
Yep. I love when games give me any reason to punch someone in real life. You know what I mean? Again, this game taught me how to be violent.
Slappers.
No, man. I mean, it's a fucking blast, and I really do hope that like I hope you guys like do set up a GoldenEye thing in your Switch. Like you got to take the time to do it, but it's like the game feels so much better once you do it. And it actually is playable. It's not a perfect solution, like the actual perfect way to do it is insane. Because I don't know if you knew this, but dual analog shooting was in the original GoldenEye as well. It was just in order to do it, you had to hold two N64 controllers.
Whoa!
And you would have both your fingers on the Z buttons on both controllers and have your thumbs on both the sticks, and that totally worked. So really, truly, the way to really make it work is to set it as solitaire. Have 4 Joy-Cons hooked up while you're playing the single player. Put in the player 2 Joy-Con on the left part of the grip and the player 1 right Joy-Con on the right side of the grip. And then it like is truly analog control, right?
That's actually kind of awesome. Gaming should be accessible. We should gatekeep versus casuals. That's only the most intense person can do that.
Yeah.
It's more gatekeeping.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. More gatekeeping. If
you want to play this game properly, you have to have 4 friends at your house with 8 Joy-Cons. Or is it 16? I don't know. I'm starting to break my brain on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Super fun time. I really hope people like actually do put in the effort to make those changes, because the online is super fun to play to this day. It's kind of crazy how fun it still is, to be honest.
David, you mentioned we were talking about the positive things. I think the game, the UI is quick and fast. It immediately boots up into the level. You quit the game and it immediately takes you back to the menu. So like the speed, there's no slowdown from like the UI to the game, for the game back to the like the menus and stuff. So I felt that was pretty nice. And same thing with like it's part of the NSO, so it's really quick. It's really quick to get in and out of the game. Something I appreciated.
Mm-hmm. Those menus are satisfying too. If I remember correctly, the sound, the snap sound when you click on stuff.
Yeah. Like the like paper turning in the manila envelope
oh
or whatever.
My God.
Yeah.
It's like ASMR. It's so satisfying.
Yeah, totally it is. That's right. The music is great in it as well, obviously. You had some of the all-time greats at Rare composing for this. There was a bit of controversy before this game came out. Nintendo tweeted a video of the pause screen that was like missing some of the effects from the song, like the kind of like go, like the kind of gong or like sonar sound that's like a big part of the soundtrack to that game was not in the like kind of hip hop like pause screen music that plays during it. And a lot of people were like, "What the fuck, Nintendo? Why'd you fuck up the emulation?" And then the game came out and it was totally fine. It was just something that the social people fucked up on. The music is 100% intact in this game, and it sounds and looks really good. It looks great in 16:9 too.
All right, well, that's it. If you have any memories of playing GoldenEye with your friends that you want to share with us, or any thoughts about this situation of it being on NSO and Xbox, definitely send us a comment. Let us know what you think. And with that, we're going to move on and take a break and come back and talk about the games we've been playing recently. Honestly, I've mostly just been playing Fire Emblem Engage since we last talked about it. I think I'm on chapter 15, 16, somewhere around there. My Switch says I got 20 hours or more on it. Really enjoying Fire Emblem Engage. It's everything we talked about last week. It just continues to be ridiculous, stupid story, but fun. And I just can't help but love these characters, even though it's dumb, and really enjoying the battles. Still a little bit miffed about the difficulty thing, but there is a bit of a spike in difficulty that happens in the game. I don't want to spoil anything, but I know a lot of people have been talking about it. Happens.
You said you're on chapter 15. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I feel like Fire Emblem games usually have a point around the middle where everything gets fucked up and it gets a lot harder. Is that the case in this game as well? Like the story kind of takes a shift?
Yeah, something happens. Again, I don't want to spoil anything specific. And the game gets harder. And that's been actually nice. It's now evening out again for me, though, to the point where I'm starting to be dominating again. But it was a nice, like, oh, I actually have to think about some things. Because I'd gotten in the habit of just moving my strongest units and just barreling through a little bit. So it was nice to have to think about it a little more. But really enjoying that. I don't know. I've been playing a few other games with my kid mostly, but
a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah, the only thing that he's been really into Hot Wheels Unlimited. I think that's, or Hot Wheels Unleashed rather.
Unleashed, yeah.
Again, he's played that off and on, but he's been really hitting that hard, and so I've been playing that with him. Which
I almost bought that so many times, but it's coming to Game Pass this month.
Oh,
and
good.
So...
I wouldn't recommend it. Like,
oh, really?
It
looks
it's
really
actually
fun.
Cool, and I like it. It just, there's a lot of nickel and diming, a lot of DLC, a lot of expansion packs. The main thing he likes to do is make his own tracks, which is a lot of fun for him, and then we race on them, and that's pretty cool. But I don't know, there's a lot of grinding to unlock stuff and stuff like that, so that's where I'm a little bit hesitant to recommend a full purchase of it. But if it's on Game Pass, for sure, check it out.
For me, GoldenEye, baby. Been playing that. Playing it on Xbox mostly. Despite the motion sickness, I beat the first couple levels.
Oh yeah. So mainly playing like campaign stuff then, I guess.
Yeah. I while I was playing, I forgot that some objectives are tied to harder difficulties, like the agent, double agent, super agent. And so I ended up playing like the super agent, which is like the medium. And I did I remembered some of the objectives, just doing them, but it doesn't count of getting the objective unless you play the harder objective.
Yeah, exactly. And then also it's like, I was having trouble with like special agent on like the first level or something like that. I wasn't finding all the alarms, and you can't play any of the future levels on that harder difficulty unless you've played it through like the previous level. So I was like, God damn it, I can't like. So I'm just like mowing everybody down like super easily. Yeah, and so that's all you've been playing.
Yep, that's all here. David, how about you?
Nice. Yeah, I've actually been playing a lot of games. I picked up a lot of games recently because I'm a bad boy. Like I said, I've been playing GoldenEye. I've been mostly playing that Xbox Live Arcade unreleased port on my Steam Deck. It's been fun. The multiplayer is great on that too. I had my buddy Rob Trailer, who's been on the show a bunch of times. He came over and we played some of that on my Steam Deck, plugged into my TV, and that's great because you could set it's got modern controls obviously, and then you can set the how the screen is split to be either vertical or horizontal. You've got all these options. It's just like, it's just so much better, the version that was released on that. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of that. Samurai Gun 2 as well. We played a little bit of that multiplayer whenever Rob was over. That was a good time. A game called Genital Jousting, which is as insane as it sounds. You play as a bunch of severed dicks with buttholes on them, and you do a collection of party games. That was pretty fun. Let's see what else I grabbed. Titanfall 2 I kind of randomly bought because it was like $3 on Steam, and so I've started playing that on my Steam Deck.
You playing single player?
Yeah, I've been playing the campaign.
One of the best campaigns of all modern first-person shooters.
You're a big Titanfall 2 fan.
Titanfall 2 campaign is so good. It's as a person who thinks about learning game mechanics, it teaches you how to play the game and continuously teaches you how to play it well. It is
awesome.
It is a masterpiece of just teaching you game mechanics through the story of its campaign.
Man, that's great. Yeah, I'm still really early, but I've like got my Titan now, and I'm doing a lot of the Titan stuff where you're like first having to kind of jump out and do puzzle stuff and then jump back in and continue on like slaughtering people with your Titan.
Yeah.
That game's super fun for sure. Really enjoying that. Let's see. A couple other things. Heavy Bullets is a game I always go back to. It's kind of like a first person shooter roguelike. Slave Zero X, game that Miles Luna, previous guest on the show, was the writer on. That got a demo. So I've been playing some of that demo, and that's been fun. But I think the main game I want to talk about this week is a game that just came out It's been in development for like 5 years. It's called Pizza Tower. Have you guys heard about this game? This game is fucking insane. It is awesome. It is so cool. It is currently not on the Switch, unfortunately, but I think it's probably only a matter of time. I don't see like why it wouldn't be on the Switch. But it's kind of a Wario Land like. It's kind of a Wario Land 4 like, I guess you could say. It controls kind of similarly to that game where you're this really weird, overly cartoony, angry Italian guy who does like this kind of forward dash a lot. And kind of has levels that are sort of set up like that, where it's a lot of collectibles, a lot of picking up enemies and throwing them at people, and like slams and slides and stuff like that. But the thing that really sets this game apart, other than its like insane visuals, which are like kind of this cartoony MS Paint style graphics, it's really hard to describe how it looks.
Yeah, just watching. I'm playing the trailer and the video version. It seems
cool.
like a Wario Land / like Earthworm Jim. With
Yeah,
like a little bit of an attitude to it.
Yeah, with some Ren and Stimpy thrown in there and like some weird shit, but like, you know, that's amazing. The music is amazing. The music is amazing, actually. It's like really, really fucking good. But then I think what really sets it apart is just the controls. Like you have so much control over this weird little guy that you're playing as. Like you can like punch into a run and then transfer that into a slide and then like a Samus like super jump sort of thing that she would do whenever. What do you call that?
Shine Spark.
Yeah, Shine Spark. Yeah, you can like Shine Spark like in that game. You can do all these like wall runs and like jumps and all these like incredible like aerial attacks and stuff like that. And it's just a game that I can tell already. Like I'm completely in love with it. Like from like the little I played, I streamed it the other night, and it's like just so much fucking fun. And I know that this is going to be a game I'm going to want to go back and like try to min max, try to get the best time on a level, try to figure out the best routes to like move and beat it as quickly as you can. It's super, super fun and chaotic and bizarre. And there are just so many good games that are coming out that have come out just since January. You know what I mean? Onion Assault is another one that I got on my Switch that I haven't even played yet because I'm playing through like 50 other games right now. But it's like, there's just so many great games coming out. And I really hope that a really unique and original game like Pizza Tower, even though it's got heavy like Wario Land vibes, it's really doing its own thing. And it's kind of, you know, surpassed that to become its own thing. And I really hope a lot of people don't pass on it. And I hope it gets the Switch release soon as well. Anyway, sorry, that was kind of long. But Paul, what about you, man? What have you been playing recently?
Well, my girlfriend's been away for a few weeks, so I made her as a fighter in UFC 4. And after work, I get drunk and I try to get the championship belt with her. Because I will say UFC 4 has good. You could really make people look like the real person. So
I was worried you were going to say that you just beat the shit out of her.
No.
You play as her.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's a lot more noble. Yeah.
This is because she's out of town?
Yeah. She was out of town, and I realized that I have UFC 4 on my PlayStation, and I said, well, let me try making her as a character, and she looks exactly. Like I'm sending her pictures of her with her hands above her, like she's just bleeding profusely.
Almost like she's not out of town.
She's ranked number 3. She's ranked number 3. She's like 7-1, so we get enough there.
So, some people say that there are only 7 love languages: physical touch, words of affirmation, and then there's another one which is custom fighters in UFC 4.
Yeah, she's tatted up too. I gave her a lot of tattoos.
Nice.
And then I always Civ 6 and Faster and Lighter, just the 2 games I play. All the time. And then I recently started playing Baldur's Gate again, and because back when I lived in Boston, I had a D&D group one time where everybody was a barbarian. That was like it was just a fun way to play. So I'm playing a Baldur's Gate campaign. I made 6 barbarians. It's just a party of 6 barbarians, and I'm trying to beat the game. It's very tough because everybody I run into is just fireballing me before I can even get within range of them.
Could use a magic user somewhere.
Yeah. There's like really no healing in my group. They just like heal themselves by getting mad. And Baldur's Gate is the best.
That's truly the slappers only of Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. I like to hamstring myself in games. I don't know why. Like when I play Fallout, I can only play survival. I've been playing a little bit of Fallout 4 survival mode as well lately.
Yeah.
It's like playing Grand Theft Auto by driving the speed limit the whole game.
Yeah.
And obeying traffic signs.
Yeah, which actually, when I was a kid, we set up a wheel with the San Andreas co-op. We actually would do that. We would follow the rules, and then anybody that broke the rules, we'd hunt them down.
Just becomes the purge.
Yeah. But yeah, Civ 6. Civ 6 actually is out on the iPad, and it's the best thing in the world. It's like if you're waiting around anywhere to do anything, playing Civilization on an iPad is like the best. I go to open mics, I sign up. I don't listen to anybody else's jokes. I just play Civilization on my iPad.
Yeah, very good.
But you're there,
Yeah.
Patrick, your kid just started playing Civ 6, right?
Yeah,
No way.
we have it on the Switch, and man, he's young, so it's kind of tough for him, but he's determined to figure it out. Because he did the same thing with Cities Skyline, where like he spent a really long time trying to figure it out and kind of got there mostly.
According to Paul, Magnus is just a couple steps away from getting his Type 5.
We'll meet y'all at the open mic when we'll simultaneously play.
Do they let like 5-year-olds at open mics? Or how old is the kid?
He's 8 now.
8. No, you can let an 8-year-old in.
Oh yeah, he'd kill it, man.
Yeah.
His bedtime's probably before they start.
He's like, what's the deal with cafeteria food?
A child playing Civilization is so interesting to me because they're learning like about human nature. You know, just like this is a barbarian camp. We have to slaughter them.
Right. Well, that's honestly partly why I suggested it. It was like there's a little bit of educational value to this.
No, you learn definitely like
history stuff. You know.
I tell myself I'll write a bit about something in the game. That's like, because now whenever I play video games, I feel like I'm wasting time. So I play games where I think I could write a bit about it.
Yeah.
So with all the different cultures in Civ, I'm like, I got to be able to come upon something to write.
Yeah.
What is his favorite nation to play as?
Well, we like have just started and followed tutorials which suggest America because of the sort of vanilla nature
they're
of
the
it.
best, number one. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's
We
our
love
house.
capitalism.
So you know.
Yeah.
Have you seen Mighty Ducks? Number 1, USA.
We
Quack.
usually break out into USA chants, you know, that kind of thing. Anyway, I think that does it for the show. We were a little off the rails today.
You mean I didn't kill it with the Mighty Ducks reference?
No, it was great.
Yeah.
I meant just
We love
in
Emilio
general.
Estevez.
In general, we went off on some tangents. Paul, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for
today.
having me. Hopefully I didn't bring you too far off the rails there.
No, it was great.
Yeah. This will be a fun one to edit.
Thanks to MilkyWay.co, who does our website. Thanks to Corduroy, who does our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick, online, I am PDYX.
Hey, I'm Matthew on Twitter, MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Paul? Where can people find you online?
At real Paul Cyphers on pretty much everything.
Very good. Yeah, check out Paul, by the way, everybody. Paul's a great comic. You've been on my show a couple times here in Austin.
I have a lot of stand-up on my Instagram. That's all I do. I don't have any. I don't have any sketches. Talking to my phone in my car. I don't have any of that. It's just stand-up, nothing else.
No, that's great. I mean, I've been watching some of your clips on Instagram, and they're all really funny. So definitely shoot Paul a follow. And if you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter, at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. We got a website, switchheadz.com. And then, as always, I implore you guys to join our Facebook group or our Discord server. Our Discord is always popping. It's definitely the best place to get in contact with us. We're always on that fucking thing. It's a great community. It's really grown over the past few years. We'd love to have you join if you've been a Merryweather fan of the show for a while and would like to be more involved in the community. It's a great place to hang out. So join us there on Discord. And that's going to do it, man. That's it for the show. What a great episode on GoldenEye. I was like trip down memory lane. It's nice this game is out, even if it's kind of hamstrung by a few things. It's really nice to finally play this game again in a modern setting. We're going to be back next week, gang. We got a great show for you guys next week. I can't wait for that discussion. But in the meantime, you guys know the drill. Be safe out there. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. Slappers only. We love you very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.